Welcome to the Go Out Living Attitude, a cancer survivor's journey through health and wellness, helping others search for the tools to bring us a healthier and happier lifestyle. Hi, everyone. Jonathan Brandt, Go Out Living. Today's special guest is Rita Dickinson. She is an experienced frequency healer as well as an experienced healer in alternative medicine. So welcome. It is a pleasure to have you, Rita.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Like we were talking a little bit off screen, we all have stories. And I thought that would be the great place to start because you have your own story and how you became a healer.
My story is, when God wants you to do something, he makes you go through the hard part first. And I did. I was sick all my life. I had asthma as a child. I had all kinds of issues with allergies, and I was allergic to everything. Not anymore. We can outgrow those things. And I think it has to do with thinking. And, one of the things I was allergic to was tomatoes. But my grandmother grew the greatest garden, and she had the most beautiful tomatoes. And one of my favorite things was bread, mayonnaise, tomato, salt and pepper, bread. A tomato sandwich. It was so good, but it made me so sick. I'd break out with hives, but I loved it. And she knew it would hurt me, but yet she let me have it because she knew how much I loved it. God, I didn't mean to go down that path. But,
no, you're fine.
When you have illness, it's a hard battle. It's a personal battle, because everyone else around you can go, oh, well, what can I do for you? Blah, blah, blah. But yet it's your battle. And I think the major takeaway of this podcast that I'm doing is you and you alone are responsible for your healing. Nobody else, not a spouse, not a parent, not a child, not a doctor, nobody but you. And it's all up here. And, we talk about frequencies, and I'll get into that at a great depth. However, the major frequency that messes people up is their own thoughts. When they think negatively, they're going to have negative outcomes. When they think positively, they're going to have positive outcomes. So let me just start with that. My testimony goes back to I've had 23 surgeries, 7 car wrecks, none of them were my fault. In fact, it's a funny story. My husband, I was naked in the bathroom one day doing my makeup, and he comes in and he's like looking at my butt. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I want to see the target on your ass.
Oh my God.
That's at some point, that's what it feels like sometimes. We all have a target on our butt. Well, the 23 surgeries, the nurses laughed at me. One of the last surgeries I had, they said, if you don't have a bowel movement by this time tomorrow morning, you're going to go back into surgery and have a colostomy. Did you know that only people that have colostomies only last about 10 years after that? And I was 20 years old at the time. I was young, and I was like, no, I know how to make the bowels move, walk. So I took both my pain poles, one with the IV dripping in and the other one with the pain medicine dripping in. And I walked and I walked and I walked. I walked for about 4 hours, okay? Which that's not an easy thing to do. Not when you had surgery, major surgery, where they did like a 20-inch cut the day before. That is not easy. And the nurses started laughing at me. Oh, here she comes again. Here she comes again. I'm like, but you know what? I finally got my bowels to move. I knew the only way to move my bowels was to walk. And if I walked, I would get things moving, and they couldn't do that to me. I had already woke up with a hysterectomy. I was 19 years old when that happened. And now I was having residual surgeries because the scar tissue kept growing, and they had to take out parts of my intestines. And it was a nightmare. I mean, an absolute nightmare. So I kept walking. I actually had a little bit of a bowel movement, looked like a teaspoon of sand, if you ask me. But they said it counted, so that was good. After that, I started looking, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be. You know, God wouldn't put us on this planet to be subject to hospitals. I mean, that's just the way I thought about it. So I started looking, I started researching. This was in 1983. I started figuring out herbs. I was reading about herbs, and herbs fascinated me because that was medicine before we had medicine. And what we eat is our medicine. Our food, herbs are food. So I started delving into that. I found an herb called chickweed. Chickweed dissolves scar tissue. And I haven't had a surgery since.
That's amazing.
And it is amazing. It still amazes me. I mean, you know, and I lived it, but it is absolutely amazing. Yes, there are answers other than pharmaceuticals. Lots of answers.
Well, that's the holistic side of everything. That's what we call the alternative.
It's really the real. Yeah.
Right, and that's the funny part. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, it's like you said, it's herbs, it's vitamins, it's minerals, things that are already there in our bodies.
And there are no minerals in the soil anymore when they grow the food. So we're not getting the minerals. So unless you take them supplementary, you're not going to get them. And, you know, it's, people are like, oh, I'm not going to take that many supplements. Okay, well, then be sick, you know? We have gotten to a point where we don't listen to logic anymore. And that's sad to me. So,
Yeah, you
okay,
feel
let
like
me tell you.
you feel like you just kinda dive in because you're told, "Okay, this is your problem, this is the answer."
Here's your symptom, here's the drug. Here's your symptom, here's the drug. You know, I had a guy come into my office one time, and I said, and what medications are you on? And he goes, oh, wait a minute. Pulls out his wallet. He pulls out a giant piece of paper, and there's 3 columns of drugs that he's on. And I'm like, I mean, that was like, 45 drugs. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's being poisoned and doesn't even know it, because one drug makes this symptom. So then that symptom gets another drug, and then that symptom gets another drug. And by the time you're done, you're on 45 meds. And listen, some of them are expensive. I have a friend of mine, and she was all upset because her husband's medication that he had to have was $2,500 a month out of pocket. And they had good insurance, but that was above and beyond the insurance. It was $2,500 a month. You know, how does one live like that? You can't. So anyway, I went from herbs. I got my massage license. I started learning about the body. I studied iridology. In fact, I studied iridology with oh my gosh, I just went blank on his name. The inventor of iridology's daughter is who I took classes with. So I felt blessed beyond measure. In fact, she was the one, she called me out. We were at a class. There was about 100 people in the class. We were at a hotel. They did a big buffet. And when we broke for lunch, everybody's over at the salad bar and I'm at the roast beef. And she comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, you're type O blood, aren't you?" I'm like, "How do you know that?" She goes, "Because you're the meat eaters. You didn't go for the salad. You went for the meat." I went, "Isn't that interesting?" And that's when I learned about Eat Right for Your Blood type books. And they're really accurate, really accurate. So I got into iridology, which is the study of the iris of the eye, and sclerology, which is the study of the white of the eye. And when there's different red lines and spots in the white part, you know there's issues. So I got into that, and I then discovered essential oils, which work by frequency. How about that? And after the oils, and this was 35 years ago, and people would look at me like, "Are you crazy? Oils don't work by frequency. And how is this going to make this change in me?" But it does. And rose oil is the highest frequency. So when you're in love or you have sympathy, you send roses. They make people feel better. Just the smell of the roses really makes people feel better. So then I got into PEMF, magnets, all kinds of different things that were helping different situations. Then I found, 6 years ago, I found a platform that is remarkable for frequency healing. It's a on my phone or my laptop or my iPad, and I can pull it up anywhere, and it's AOSCAN. And the AOSCAN software helps all kinds of things. We balance emotion, chemistry, function, all the body systems and hormones. That's amazing. I mean, if you can balance emotion itself, that one thing will help everything, because emotions, you know, like I said, your most toxic frequency is what you think. It really is. So I got into doing this, and I love it. And I have seen miracles happen.
So, what is frequency healing exactly?
Well, what my software does is it puts 177,000 perfect health frequencies into your body. And your body responds like, "Oh, thank you for reminding me what I should be doing." And that's how it works. It's not voodoo. It's not weirdness. It's not woohoo. It's real. Um, we are inundated with frequencies right now. We have our cell phones we carry on our body. We have the 5G towers that we don't know what they're putting out on us. I mean, you know, there have been studies in the military for years on making super soldiers, and they're using frequencies. They have figured out there are frequencies that make men fight, that make them sleep, that make them crazy, I mean, all kinds of things. So I don't trust what is in those 5G towers that they're putting out on us. So my defense is using my AOSCAN every day, and it works beautifully. I have seen so many things. Right now, my heart is I'm working with some autistic children, and to see the results with them, I'm elated. I really am. It's like if I only found this to help them, it's worth it. Because, okay, here's a story. 8-year-old nonverbal comes in. He sits at my desk. I scan him. I do the 4 scans. I start playing the music, and I didn't put earbuds or earphones, which they say is better, on him. I just turned the music on and let him hear it because I didn't want to disturb his peace. Okay. And he started climbing out of the chair to go into my laptop. I'm like, what are you doing? And he wanted to get closer to the music because he knew it was helping him. That's awesome. Next time I scanned him, he's now dressing himself by himself. That's huge. You know, the number one cause of divorce in America right now is autistic kids because the parents can't deal with it. It's too much. It's just, and oh my God, the parents of autistic kids say, unless you have an autistic kid, you don't know the trouble. And it's probably true, but I can only imagine what they're going through. It's like, I don't care if the kid is 12 or 15, they're still like a 2-year-old. They cannot be left alone. They've got to be taken care of constantly. And the weight of that on the marriage, oh my gosh. I mean, it's sad. So, and when I was growing up, there was 1 out of 15 to 20,000 kids that had autism. Now it's 1 out of 24 girls and 1 out of 12 boys. Why? And people are like, well, why is this happening? Well, think about it. When I was a child, from 0 to 18, there were only 6 shots, vaccines. Now there are 77. And that is, in fact, I had a client of mine telling me her daughter got fired by her pediatrician because she didn't want to succumb to the CDC schedule of vaccines. And I said, well, good. I hope she got a doctor that'll listen to her, because we are responsible for our own health care. And as parents, you're responsible for your children, not your doctor, not the CDC. I mean, these things are evil. I mean, if you ask me, it's totally about money. It's about, well, if you don't do the regimen that we say, we're going to fire you and you can't get any health care. What? I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is. It's gotten bad. I think people are starting to understand because we're seeing, I mean, everybody we know around us is sick of something or has
Yeah.
something, you know? So, what type of folks are you getting? That are they kind of at their wits' end with medicine and they're
Let me
looking
tell
for
you a really
alternatives?
good story. Okay, so I had a gentleman come in to me. He had been to 15 doctors in the last 3 years, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. He was having problems hearing, and all he could do all day long was like blow his ears like he's on an airplane. And, when you're a manager in an office, that doesn't look good. They're laughing at him. And he had been going to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor trying to find an answer, and nobody had an answer for him. one of the things with the scanning is it gives you reports and it shows you where you're out of balance and where you're in balance. And that's the whole key with the body. It wants to be in balance. And I'm looking through his reports, and in the one with function, his mastoid bones are out, which are the two backbones in the back of the head. And I'm like, okay. I said, do you mind if I touch you? And he said, no. And I touched him, and he was hard as a rock. I mean, stress, you talk about stress. This man had it. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I gave him a card of a friend of mine who's a chiropractor. I said, go see her. Tell her to adjust your mastoid bones and see what happens. One adjustment, no more problem. You know, it can be that simple, but the time and the money and everything he spent trying to find an answer to no avail, I mean, sad. I have a testimony of a 78-year-old man I scanned remotely. I can scan remotely. I've scanned people in Australia and New Zealand and the Philippines and Europe and all Canada, all over the world, because all I have to do is do it on my phone. I build a profile with your name, your weight, your height, your email, so I can send the reports, and that's it. It's that simple. So I scan people. Anyway, I scanned this 78-year-old man that lives in Chicago, and I said, well, do you feel anything different? He goes, yeah, I don't have my knee pain anymore. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, my knee's been hurting for about 6 months, and it's not hurting right now. I said, great. I mean, that's wonderful. I always want to hear something that they can tell different. And he calls me back 3 days later and he goes, Rita, I've been going up and down the stairs in my house trying to make that knee pain come back, and it won't come back. I'm like, what are you doing that for? Because he could not believe it himself. He said it felt like I just reached in and pulled out the pain in his knee. Well, that's what frequency can do. We are supposed to be at ease. And dis-ease is not really a word. It's dis-ease. We are supposed to be at ease. So they made up this word called disease. Anyway, that was a great example. I had a man and a wife come in one day, and they both wanted to be scanned. And the man said, before we start, let me tell you, I've been having all this prostate pain, and it wraps around my back. I said, okay, well, let me start with your wife, but give me your ring before we start, your wedding ring. He's like, okay. He hands me his wedding ring. I imprinted acute pain and prostate issues into the ring. I said, now put it back on. He said, okay. So I'm scanning his wife. About 15 minutes, he looks up at me and goes, Rita, how'd you do that? I said, how'd I do what? He goes, how did you make the pain go away? I said, oh, it went away. You know, I'm surprised too sometimes with what happens, because, you know, you give the body what it needs and the body can do what it's supposed to. And so he got those frequencies and that pain went away. His wife called me about 3 months later because they signed up for the subscription to use the frequencies themselves every day. And she called me up because there's a way you can put your supplements into the frequency, into the software, and it will tell you what you need to take that day. So instead of taking 45 things every day each, they were only taking 5 or 6. And she called me up and she goes, Rita, I saved $800 this month not taking all those supplements. I said, that's fantastic. And it's better for your body to only get what it needs, you know? So I love what I do. I want everybody to be able to have this ability to do this themselves. Because like I said, you and you alone are responsible for your own health. So when people enroll, they can get the subscription. It's only $149 a month. That's nothing. You can scan as many people as you want. Yourself, your spouse, your children, your neighbors, your family, whoever. Some people make a business out of it. And you know, they want to scan people and charge them. Well, if you've got 3 people that pay you $50 a month, there's your subscription price. So why not? And it is so wonderful. I'm thrilled with it. I've been thrilled with it for August will be 6 years. So I love it. I think it's fabulous, and I think everybody should have it and use it every day on themselves and those they love the most.
And that was going to be one of my questions. So this is an everyday, can we say proactive choice?
You know, I have clients that come once a month. I have clients that come once a week. I have clients that have purchased the subscription themselves and they're scanning themselves every day. And I scan myself every day. I wouldn't miss it. It's part of my routine. It's part of my ritual. I was diagnosed with a lung condition, and this was in March of 21. And the doctor looked me right in the face and he said, if you don't get a lung transplant, you'll be dead in 1 to 3 years. I'm like, I don't think so. And so I kept scanning myself. I had already gotten my scanner. My blood pressure was the really only indicator that I had a problem, other than, you know, having to stop as I was going upstairs to catch my breath. But I never associated it with a lung issue. But my left lung didn't want to squeeze in and out anymore. It had so much scar tissue that it was frozen. So when I got the scanner, the first time my friend scanned me, she scanned me at about 8 o'clock at night one night. And I drove home and I'm like, I don't feel anything, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm the biggest pessimist I know. But when I believe in something, I believe in it 1,000%. And I got home. I didn't feel anything. I went to bed. I got up the next morning. I'm in a 2-story townhouse. So my bedroom is upstairs. So I had gone downstairs and then I went back upstairs. Oh, I forgot my phone. Go back downstairs, go back upstairs. I'm standing in the mirror and I went, whoa, you didn't stop to catch your breath on the stairs. That was different. You know, that's what we want to look at. What's different? What do you feel different than you did before? Well, that was different. And I'm telling you, these scans are keeping me alive, because now it's, you know, past March of 26, which is 5 years, and I'm still kicking.
Is there any side effects to doing it?
None. The only side effects are good side effects. Your body knows what you need, and it receives the signals. You know, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know anything about the universe, you need to study vibration, frequency, and sound. And that's so true. So we have what we call the inner voice, and that's the sound. You record yourself talking for 10 seconds. It makes music to balance your emotions. The Vitals has over 600 things that have to do with chemistry in your body, even to the point where it'll tell you what foods to not use today or tomorrow because your body doesn't need it. And it's funny because those are usually things people eat a lot of or don't eat at all. There's no in between. And then the comprehensive is 1,800 items that had to do with the function of your body. All of your veins, all of your arteries, all of your muscles and your bones and your eyes and your teeth and everything. It's all there. Then the body systems does all of the body system. The body system report alone is 31 pages long. Lots of information. So if somebody is struggling with something that the doctors can't figure out, they get on AOSCAN, they can start following patterns. You know, our bodies, I don't know what I'm trying to say. We give clues to things that are going on. And if you look at the clues and you start connecting the dots, you'll go, okay. And in the first 2 weeks that you're scanning, it might look schizophrenic because it's fixing this and then it's fixing this and then it's working on this and then this, and it's not consistent. But after a couple of weeks of scanning every day, you're going to start seeing patterns. So, you know, if your cholesterol is out every single day, that might be something to look at. And, you know, it's funny. I've had many doctors over the years go, you know, your cholesterol is perfect. It's the best ratio between bad and good I've ever seen. What is your secret? I look them right in the eye and I go, I eat fat. You know, give me a good ribeye any day. Our brains are made of cholesterol. And this whole low fat diet thing is to make people stupid. I'm serious. It's not to help them in any way. But if you eat fat, you're going to be more healthy and you're going to be able to think. And boy, are we in a time that people are not thinking.
Oh, I agree 100%. And that's why we're in this situation. And that's why people are looking for alternatives.
Absolutely. Well, the frequency works. And I have a website called frequencydiva.com. And on there, somebody can send me a message. They can say they want to schedule an appointment. They can tell me in a message that they want to get the software for themselves. I mean, come on. It's $149 a month. And you can scan yourself every day. And it doesn't take that long. It takes me 10 minutes to scan myself. I do the easy scan in the body systems. I make my homeopathic remedies. I do my flower remedies, and I'm done. It's that simple. It's not complicated. You don't do the work. The software does. All you got to do is know I push this button first. I push this button next. It's a matter of just pushing buttons. It's very, very simple. And there's
Well,
instructions on every page. There's a little question mark, and it'll tell you exactly what to do on that page.
and is it fair to say we want to put ourselves first? We want to put our health and wellness first. So I hate to say it, but stop looking at the money part of it because this is over a lifetime. This is you being able to do things with your kids and family and all that.
You know, I I'm not trying to be emotional, but I just got word yesterday of a friend of mine that died, and we'd been friends for 17 years. And, you know, it's sad to me that people are suffering the way they're suffering. And I don't think it's by accident. I think it's absolutely planned. And it's planned by the big pharmaceutical companies that want to make money off of people, hand over fist. You know, I take one drug, and that's the BioT identical hormones, because they make me nicer. I told my a doctor that I get them from, I told her, I said, you know, I always know when it's a week before my appointment with you. She goes, how do you know? I said, because all of a sudden nobody can drive. It's that, you know, but, and these things are good. You know, some things are good. Not many, but the, the pharmaceutical companies want you in this loop of, you take this drug for this and that, and then this happens, and take this one for that, and then that happens. And at, to what end? It's all about money. These vaccinations on these kids, 77 shots, that's absurd. I mean, nobody needs that. And every one of those vaccines is laced with mercury as the ingredient that keeps it fresh. No, mercury's not a preservative, it's a poison. And it's going right to these children's brains. Anyway, Jonathan, I don't know what to tell you. My heart is to help people feel better. And that's all. I'm doing these podcasts to get the information out so that people can take their own health into their own hands and work on themselves and their family and feel better and do better and live. You know, when you feel better, you're happier. You know, amazing. But you know, when you go to the beach, you're happy. Why? It's not the alcohol. It's being barefoot on the earth. It's having the waves that give you the negative ions. I've got a friend that has something called a rain chair, and I can show people how to get that. The rain chair is a negative ions. It's a, I forgot how many it was, 1.4 million negative ions, where the ocean only has like 25,000 negative ions. And you know how good that makes you feel. Well, when you sit under this rain chair, you don't feel anything. It doesn't put anything on you except these negative ions. And it goes poof, and you feel it. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, it's like you just want to start melting because it feels so good.
That's amazing.
So, there are all kinds of things that are out there. I use a dry foot sauna. Uh, that's it. How do I explain it? You know, there's a lot of people that do the foot baths with that nasty water. Oh,
Yeah.
I have one of those, but I never could do it on people because it stinks and I don't like it. And so it just sits in a closet. But I got a dry one, and it uses heat, and it heats your feet to your ankles, to the next to your calves, to your knees. Every time you use it, it goes up a little higher. And the number one way the body gets rid of something that's invading it is a fever. So the heat actually detoxes the feet. It's awesome.
It
But,
is.
you know, people don't know what they don't know until they're open to listen and try something different. So I
And
encourage
that's
all of your viewers to try the frequency.
and that's what we're doing here. We're just it's education. It's getting the word out. It's they still make the decision themselves, but
Exactly.
if they don't know it's even out there, you're never gonna try it. So, that's why we're doing all these. We just wanna help others.
Absolutely.
Rita Dickinson, frequency healer. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure for me as well. All right, everybody. Well, that's what we got for today. I really appreciate all of you for watching. And as you know, find the attitude, keep the attitude, go out living. Till next time.